Good morning, my name is Claudia Diaz and I'm with the UN Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights in Cambodia. Welcome to another Hernan Santa Cruz Dialogue. The Santa Cruz Dialogues this year, 2025, are focusing on the concept of a human rights economy. A human rights economy is a framework that puts people and the environment at the center of economic, social and environmental policies. Now today it is an honor to have as guest His Excellency Dr. Chan Narit. Dr. Chan Narit is a leading economist. He is a senior official that presently is serving as the Secretary General of the National Social Protection Council and also as Secretary of State with the Ministry of Economy and Finance of Cambodia. He's also a member of the Supreme National Economic Council, and he has a PhD and an MSc in economics with the University of Lyon too in France. Dr. Narit's expertise and leadership in economic policy and social protection have placed him as a pivotal figure in shaping Cambodia's economic and social development. So welcome and thank you very much, Dr. Chan Narit, for joining us here today for this dialogue. It is a pleasure to hear your reflections today.
Thank you for having me.
Well, the first thing that I wanted to mention is that Cambodia has made a very strong commitment to expand access to social protection. And Cambodia can certainly highlight many lessons learned. One of the major advancements that Cambodia has taken very recently was the launch of the National Social Protection Policy Framework 2024-2035, which is a comprehensive strategy that was developed under the National Social Protection Council, of which you are the Secretary General. So we wanted to ask if you could share with us your reflections on Cambodia's experience in expanding this rights-based coverage.
As you mentioned, we have recently launched the updated version of the National Social Protection Policy Framework 2024-35. An updated version, obviously it is based on the implementation of the previous one. Started its implementation in 2017 up to the recent launch of the new updated versions. I mentioned this because also wanting to share with you not only the policy aspect, of the story, but also the actual coverage of the populations with social protection system being developed step by step. We started in 2017 with roughly less than 4 million people under the coverage. This is for both sides, social assistance and social securities. I mentioned these two, social assistance and social security, because here in the Cambodian context, social protection means the two combined. Social assistance meaning that this is a tax-based, type of coverage. Different programs is designed and implemented using public finance or fiscal resource to implement it. But on the other hand, social securities under our system is basically a contribution-based type of schemes, either has coverage or work injuries or even pensions. So less than 4 million people in 2017, up to the end of 2024, before the launch of the new National Social Protection frameworks, we reached roughly 7.2 million people. So this is the expansion of the coverage with a strong commitment, as you mentioned. Policy commitment obviously is one of the factors that we could build on, to create success here. But then based on these strong political wills, we also need a robust leadership. Combine these two components, then I can lay out three main points here that create not only a strong but also a scalable system, allowing the country to expand its coverage step by step from then up to now and continued in the future as well based on the new policy frameworks. Those two points or two factors. The first one is the strong but flexible strategic and legal framework and tools. We can't build a strong system without this strategic and legal ground. So to build it, these two factors are the main one that we started to build it step by step in, as mentioned just now, not only building a strong foundation, but also a adaptive one as well. The second one is clear governance structures which serve as a coordinating mechanism for the implementations, because there's obviously many stakeholders being involved when it comes to protecting the most vulnerable one. We are having different ministries, institutions within the government, but not only within the government. We have representatives of the target groups. We have employers, employees, but also civil societies. We have development partners being with us, etc. So this clear governance structure which also serve as a coordinating body, dividing responsibilities across the board, across different stakeholders involved, allow us to have the policy, the strategy being implemented in a coordinated way, while each of these stakeholders know exactly what their jobs are. Not to forget, along this coordination, along these implementations, the digital transformations also come into the picture. We could not separate governance and digital transformations. It's obviously a great tool for programs being implemented in a efficient and transparent way. And we adopted digital transformation since the very beginning of the implementation of our policy frameworks in 2017. My third point would be on, I mentioned a few times already, but I wanted to highlight it again as one of the factors that we could draw as a lesson from the development so far, which is a system building. Expanding the coverage, scaling up programs, implementations, program schemes, etc. would need to be done in a systemic way. With that, you need a system first. So with legal frameworks, with strategies, with coordinating governance structure, with the coordinating body, etc., a strong and scalable system started to be built step by step, allowing the implementations of the coverage, either social assistance programs or social security schemes, to start small, but then scale up when it is feasible along the time, and we continue to do so up to now. Not to forget the last factors that we should not ignore, which is the adjustment along the way. So you build a system, you start implementing programs, schemes, etc. But then along the implementation process, continued adjustment is needed, and it should be done based on evidence collecting from monitoring and evaluations activity being conducted. So along the way, in Cambodia, especially coordinated by the National Social Protection Council, our technical team, with the support from different stakeholders, roll out many system and many mechanism which allow us to collect data, feedback, but also to see where to adjust the implementations. And this many we've conducted not only based on administrative data, but we also engage independent researchers to go through the field, etc., dividing into implementation monitoring, basically mainly administrative data, administrative process, but also process evaluations and impact evaluation along the way. So that's for me, those 4 factors are the experience that we have started and we've learned from. We use it as basis to continue our work, but more importantly, to continue expanding the social protections here in Cambodia for the sake of not only the most vulnerable one. Of course, we started with the most vulnerable one, but it continues to scale up step by step for the populations in overall. Although we have not set any target for social protection for all, this is obviously the ultimate objective for the government, but also for the policy being implemented so far.
Well, I think the efforts have been very impressive that the government has made to conduct this expansion, and you've highlighted several good practices that have been implemented here in Cambodia. But this takes us also to our next question, which is the severe fiscal constraints that many developing countries are facing. And so you can have good strategy, a good plan, but then you also need to have the financial capacity to support that. So based also on the experience of Cambodia, we would like to ask you, what do you consider to be innovative solutions and financial strategies that developing countries that want to expand coverage, they could consider to sustainably finance the expansion of the social protection systems based on the Cambodia's experience?
The very first response for you is that, innovative, strategic, innovative, etc. is are the different component, but one straight answer to you is a coordinated single channel. Mobilizing different source of funding is one thing, but coordinations among those source of fundings, creating a single pool of finance is very important, because it would serve the single purpose, which is expanding the coverage, expanding the protections. Along with that, 3 main points I should mention here in terms of sustainably financed initiatives and protections being implemented. The first one is about starting small and scale up along the way based on the affordabilities. And I think this is for us here in Cambodia, not only in the National Social Protection Council, but also within the spirit of every stakeholders here. We look into sustainabilities, and you can't predict sustainabilities without looking into the future of financing aspect of the story. So building a system, but starting small first when the affordability is there, but the system that we build allow having this possibility of scale up. I mentioned just now in the previous question. So that's basically one fundamental component that philosophy, I should say, that we have followed. But when it comes to affordabilities here that allow system to scale up, obviously affordability on the fiscal side of the story is important. But in Cambodia, we look beyond affordabilities of the fiscal side. As I mentioned in the earlier question, we are having tax-funded programs, but also contribution-based schemes. So affordability here comes from both sides. We look into how sustainably fund programs from the public finance side of the story, but we also need to make sure about the ability to contribute from not only company but individual side as well, for those who enrolls, who register in the social security system, which is contribution-based scheme in the countries. The last point is to make sure that what we implement, what we continue to expand, to develop and to expand is credible. Without credibility, no one would inject funding into your system. So credibility here is a key, and personally, I consider efficiency and accountability are the main pillars for this credibility. Again, digital transformations are the tool that we use to generate these efficiencies and accountabilities, but I can repeat it one more time on the M&E mechanism and activity we have conducted along the way that would shows how efficient, how accountable the system are, the implementation process are along the way, and how impactful those programs, those schemes, not only for the target groups, but also for general populations and the economy as a whole.
Well, something that I wanted to pick up from what you've mentioned, and this would lead us to our last question, is in regards to partnerships. And you highlighted, for example, international development cooperation, multi-stakeholders initiative, and also global partnerships. And we wanted to ask you, how do you consider that this could expedite progress towards achieving universal social protection? Again, picking up on the experience of Cambodia, to support, to consider other countries on how to do this with the partnerships, on the importance that they have.
I mentioned the beginning of the implementation of policy framework from 2017, but actually social protection in Cambodia is more than that, is even earlier than that. Just that 2017 was the start of the national policy frameworks, which would be implemented gradually based on domestic resource. Prior to that, the system are in place, different schemes, different initiatives got implemented, but mostly based on external fundings. So we draw experience and lesson along the ways, and come to 2017 onwards, although I mentioned we started using this domestic resource, but it's the beginning, and it gradually depending on this domestic resource, meaning that external resources are still there. So that is one of the important aspects to answer to your questions. To expedite these corporate expansions, etc., for both social assistance programs, social security schemes within the countries, one of the key takeaways along these years is the coordinating effort among, well, I started by saying among all stakeholders. That means also development partners and global initiative partnerships, etc. This coordinated effort creates strengths, and it comes in, at least from international development communities, it comes in three aspects. The first one, coordinated effort in mobilizing resource. Whether it is small or big, in total, as long as it is coordinated, it is consolidated in a way so that it comes with a single purpose and being implemented in a non-fragmented way. Second one is to provide, and this is increasingly more important, provide technical assistance. I say increasingly more important because previously the partners implement those initiatives by themselves. Step by step, starting from 2017, the government take this ownership not only in terms of funding, but also in terms of design and implementation. So technical assistance is very important to have national stakeholders to design and to start implementing different initiatives and programs. But then again, this technical assistance would need to come in a coordinated way as well. Along the way, we come from initiatives being implemented individually in a fragmented way, but then under the National Social Protection Framework 2017-25, this strong governance system, this robust coordinating mechanism created a venue for partnership, but also for these coordinated efforts to happen. Why I talk about this coordinated technical assistance? Because without that, sometimes repetition happens, sometimes overlapping happens, sometimes the common goals was not necessarily well understood. So the technical assistance is obviously very important, but it's even better to do it in a coordinated way. And we have done it along this year. The last one, when you have in securing different fundings and providing TA, obviously you need to put government or national stakeholders on a driver's seat. We have so understanding the common goals, understanding the shared purpose, but then providing all the technical aspect being needed for the country to move forward by still supporting national stakeholders in technically, but also building individual and institutional capacity along the way to handle the implementation process. With all these manners, with all these way being conducted, this coordinated, resource mobilization, coordinated technical assistance, and capacity buildings, we see evidence based on the monitoring and evaluations activities, which most of activities, when I mentioned about this independent collections of evidence, etc., got supported from international community development partners as well. So it's allowed us to have external view, I should say third-party view, on the how impactful and what are the impacts of different interventions, different programs, etc. But then together we digest the result out of those many process and adjust the design, the options, and the implementation process along the way.
Well, thank you very much. I think what we discuss here today and the very useful reflections that you have shared with us show how a challenging task it is to do this, to expand social protection. But we hope that this will also be an inspiration for countries who want to develop rights-based social protection coverages. Building a human rights economy, or building an economy that respects human rights and goes beyond that, that actively takes steps to implement rights-based frameworks. So we very much appreciate that you share the experience of Cambodia. I think they're very good examples. And we wish all the best, that you continue expanding and developing the great work that you have been doing. So thank you very much.
Well, obviously, when it comes to right, everybody should have the equal right, including the most vulnerable one. That's basically the guiding spirits that we work from the beginning, but also every day here. I talk often about expansions, about scale up, but when we do this, when we in our everyday work, scale up means both horizontal and vertical. One is expanding to cover more people, but the other one is adequate benefits. The work toward a benefit which is adequate for a living with dignities in the society, at least the minimum one. First, but second one, which I wanted to mention here just to conclude, is that talking about this, of course, you mentioned just now, is to share experience, possibly inspiration if it creates inspirations to other countries, but also to remind ourselves as well that we work for a purpose. Usually our team would say we work for a cause which is greater than ourselves. We need to learn from experience, and those I shared just now are experience, but also not to forget that, with this experience, with these lessons along the way, we have inspirations, we have, again, cause that we need to follow. I almost say we need to dream about, so that our countries, possibly the world, has a stronger, social protection for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think those were very wise words to conclude our dialogue today. Certainly is an inspiration for the promotion and the protection of the right to access social security. So thank you very much for all of those who joined us today. And again, it was an honor to have His Excellency Dr. Chan Narit joining us. Thank you.